Welcome to another deep dive of Man in the High Castle with Special Agent 45. I am Special Agent 45, and this is a deep dive of Man in the High Castle, Season 4, Episode 3, The Box. Now, before we get into this deep dive, I want to talk about a little bit of some things I missed, or one thing I missed on the last deep dive, and that is that at the end of the last episode, Juliana sees someone outside her house. She thinks they're watching. They're watching her. She sees them. They turn the light off in their car. Maybe they turn it on. Can't remember exactly. But she runs for the door and they drive off. So now she has reason to be afraid of who this person is. She doesn't really know who they are. She just knows that she's being watched. But she has reason to fear something. I believe she suspects that this is the Nazis from the alternate universe because she's been slowly putting things together and realizing that they are in this universe now. But we'll get to that in just a minute. So this episode opens up with Helen catching a ride from her brother to go back to the American Reich. They're driving toward a checkpoint, and her brother mentions that he keeps remembering John and her at their wedding, and how he used to have such good memories of John. Helen comments that the world changed, but I mean, in my opinion, both John and Helen have changed. What they did originally, which we haven't really gotten to the episodes with the flashbacks yet, but they made decisions for survival, and now they're just kind of being forced to live that kind of life. So the world changed, yes, but so did John and Helen. What's interesting about this scene is that Helen's hair is tied back up again, and her clothes are a dark, I think they're dark purple, but they're very dark. So it's almost symbolic of the prison that she's going back into, that she's bound up. Her hair's bound up and her clothes are dark again. It's also raining, and that's usually a filmmaking symbol of poor, bad things coming. And then, of course, as they approach the checkpoint, we get this shot of this massive wall that runs across the entire area, the landscape of the American Reich, separating it from the neutral zone. Now, this wall kind of reminds me of the Berlin Wall, except that this wall looks like it's meant to keep people out, not to keep people in. Okay, after that, we go back to the alt world, and we see that Russ is coming over to Juliana's place to drop off a gun. And before he gives her the gun, he's curious to know, like, why do you need this? He doesn't just want to hand it over. He wants some more details. So Juliana pops off with Nazis from another universe. He just looks at her, gives her the gun anyway because he likes her, and he does trust her. And then just tells her, when you're ready to tell me what's really going on, I'll be here to listen. So he obviously still doesn't believe her. I mean, would you believe someone who said that? Me personally, I used to role play, so I might actually believe them and be like, okay, where's the portal? What else? I mean, Russ does even say one gun isn't going to be enough, but he's pretty much joking. We come back to the other universe. We see Kido and Yomori walking together. Kido has found some new evidence in the investigation of the assassination of Tagomi. Yomori doesn't care. As far as Yomori is concerned, the investigation is closed, and he tells Kido, the investigation is over. Close the investigation. Stop looking into this case. You found your killer. You're done. Kido, clearly not happy with this, thinks that they haven't found the killer and that they need to look more, but he's once again going to do what he's told, at least for now. Okay, now in the next scene, Wyatt and his men, they're in the catering van. They're going over the plan, and Wyatt talks about being respectful and low profile. Now the problem with Wyatt saying this is that in the last episode, he was not doing that at all. He was like staring down Kido constantly. This is going to come back to haunt him, because to haunt them, because he ends up being recognized by Kido in a later scene, precisely because he kept staring instead of keeping his head down, minding his own business, and just doing his thing. He kept looking over at Kido, and that's gonna be their downfall. Okay, now most of what happens next uh, between Kido and Toru, it gets interspersed with scenes from the auction, but it's easier to put all the Kido and Toru stuff together, rather than try to bounce back and forth between all the scenes. So I'm just gonna talk about all these things all at once. So we see Toru in a Yakuza club. He's drinking, trying to drown out these memories he has. Starts a fight. Kido gets a call from the Yakuza boss, and he has to go pick up Toru. Now, when Kido goes to get him, the Yakuza boss tells him the only reason we let him live is because he has the medal that he was wearing. He's considered a war hero, and the Yakuza boss tells him, "I ain't gonna kill no war hero." Kido gets him, takes him home. They get in a fight. Kido can't understand why his son can't deal with this. You get the sense that Kido never served in war or anything like that, and he just, he's like, it was war. You had to do certain things, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. Nothing, all that kind of stuff. But Kido professes loyalty to the empire, and he says that's our highest form of loyalty. Toru shoots back with, "What about loyalty to your family?" That like totally pushes Kido over the edge. He beats Toru up and throws him out of the house. So Kido he can't understand Toru at all, and throws him out, and he practically disowns him at this point. And like I said, that's interspersed with some scenes from the auction. I'll get to those scenes in just a minute. So then we come to John and Helen and their family. All the relationships are strained at this point. Helen arrives home, and Amy is the only one who rushes up to Helen to give her a hug. I would say that, unfortunately, Amy is the only one who does not see what's happening to the family. Amy is also the only one who's buying completely into all the Nazi propaganda. Jennifer remains at the end of the hallway, doesn't come forward at all. John comes out. Bridget takes the girls off. Helen and John talk about things for a little while. Their marriage is, or I should say, the tension is palpable. They are not getting along at all. Helen's being short with John, just quick answers, things like that. Helen goes to change. Jennifer comes in to her room, and they have a discussion. Jennifer is just like shocked that her mom would come back. You were free. Why did you come back? Jennifer swears that she's going to get out of the Reich one day. Helen tells her, "I will help you do that someday." Helen and Jennifer still have, I would say, a pretty good relationship, even though Jennifer is not happy that her mom's back. But their relationship is still pretty close, closer than Helen and John. Helen and Amy, Amy's buying into all the propaganda, so she's gonna end up not wanting her mom around anyway. Shortly later, Bridget comes, takes the girls out for a night a night at the movies, and then John and Helen sit down to talk. The color grading on this scene is colder than I'm pretty sure than most of the other scenes, and I think this is done to show how far gone practically their marriage is. And they're talking about the dinner that's going to happen tomorrow night at their home with Himmler and Marguerite. And Helen's determined to come to this dinner. John doesn't want her to go, but Helen tells John. This is the second time we hear this from the Helen character, which is we've always promised to tell each other the truth, and now I'm telling you, I'm not coming as your wife. I'm coming as your ally, and you're going to need an ally, because I think she sees what's going to happen, or what she believes might be happening to him, and she wants to try to help him. But as she says, not as your wife, as an ally. So yeah, their marriage is clearly becoming strained at this point. I'll also quickly point out that, not regarding Helen and John, but regarding Kido and Toru, since Kido had to go pick up Toru and all that conflict and fighting and things like that, that actually appears to have saved Kido from what's coming up, or what happens at the auction, which is the assassination of they ended up getting 3 officers, and they didn't get Kido. So all that familial conflict saved Kido's life, essentially. Okay, so back in the alt world, Juliana's studying what she has found during her meditations, when Alt Thomas shows up, except she doesn't know it's Alt Thomas. She just hears a shake at the doorknob. This causes some tension for her because she knows that she's being followed. Fortunately, Thomas, announces himself, and because she's got the gun ready, but he announces himself. She lets him in, and then they start to talk a little bit about some things, and Thomas tells her that he's considering enlisting, and Juliana, she cares about him, so she's not going to try necessarily to talk him out of it, but she does tell him there are very few things in this world worth fighting for. There are even fewer things worth killing for. He understands that, but he believes that fighting the Reds, in his words, is an important thing to do. I think he's believes this because his dad, Alt John, raised him to love freedom and love liberty. So he thinks, and because John was in the army, so he thinks it's right for him to join the Marines and go fight the communists. Okay, now we'll get to the BCR and the assassination attempt that they're trying to do on these 4 officers. So we see Bell and the BCR getting ready to go on this attack, and Bell starts to quote a poem by, I think it's Claude McKay is the poet. We then get a montage scene of BCR personnel getting into position. We see Masuda arrives first, and then after he arrives, then Shimura and Nagasaki arrive. We also see that Wyatt gets a little bit cocky when one of the guards tells him to taste all the food. He doesn't say anything, but he takes a bite, he takes a drink, and he gives the guard a nasty little look. And like, so much for being low profile here, Wyatt. So he's not really being low profile at this point. He's probably getting anxious and just wants to get on with it and get this going. Somewhat anxious, because we'll get to it, but later on he gets, I think, pretty nervous. So Wyatt and I think his name is Jeremy, they're standing behind the stage, hidden at the auction site, and they're getting ready to come out and kill the 3 officers. The guards out in front, they get a call, and the BCR is approaching at the same time. So the BCR happens to hear this call come in and kills a few of the guards before they can set off an alarm. Unfortunately, I think the call went into a few different guard places because Elijah says, "We've been made, time to pull out, time to pull back." Belle stays put with her sniper. It's at this point, Wyatt and Jeremy, they come out blasting. They manage to kill Shimura and Nagasaki. Masuda comes limping out. Belle is determined to kill Masuda. So she orders the sniper, take him out, take him out. He unfortunately misses, which forces Belle to have to leave the van. She walks over, shoots him point blank. And you can tell the look on her face. She was determined that this guy was going to die. She was not going to let this opportunity pass up no matter what, because I think it was the sniper even said, "Don't go, don't go, don't go." I think he was worried that she would be seen, and then she becomes an even bigger target. So that she shoots him, and then she gets back in the van, and they head back to the BCR hideout. Wyatt's men are also on their way back to the BCR hideout, but one of his guys gets shot in the process of escaping. So they get back to the hideout. That boy, he dies, and during all this arguing about, you were supposed to keep us covered and all that stuff, somebody notices Childen in the back of one of the cars, pulls him out. They're about to kill him, and he is able to convince Belle that two of the 3 people that she just killed were actually advocates of withdrawal, and that he can write a letter to the Crown Princess to convince her to meet them for like peace talks. So instead of them killing him, they end up having him write a letter to the Crown Princess. I believe that actually happens in the next episode. So I'll get to that when I do the deep dive on that episode. Then we come back to the alt world, where Juliana is meditating. She's trying to communicate with Tagomi. She's asking him, what am I missing? She's looking around in the what I call the middle universe thing. She sees people. Again, she sees people coming from the horizon. She doesn't know who they are. This still scares her again because she doesn't know anything about them. In the background, we see Tagomi stand up, but he transforms into John Smith. So she turns around, and John turns and shoots her, which wakes her from her meditation and gets her to call alternate John Smith. They meet in a cafe. She starts asking him about some things that he said before, and they have to do with his dad and becoming his dad. And he starts to get more into his background and how when he was in the military, he got a battlefield promotion, and that came with a lot of power. And they did a lot of bad things during the war. And he was worried that he was going to grow into that power and like that power and enjoy it. But he didn't like what it was doing to him. So at the end of the war, he left the service. This gives us insight into John's character and the other John, and how they're only different because of circumstance. The fact is that alternate John, he had the option to leave the service at the end of the war, so he was able to leave all that behind. Whereas the other John, he didn't have the option at the end of the war. Well, he did. I mean, he could have left, but he'd be on the run. He'd be hunted down by Nazis. He chose to join the Nazi forces and get a high position and then move up the ranks. So that John has come to enjoy the power that comes with it, and to ignore all the bad things that happen to other people. Things that he knows are wrong, but he's got all this power, he doesn't care. So we got some insight there. Juliana then leaves and she gets attacked. This is the last scene of this episode. She gets attacked by one of the special ops agents that John has sent, the other John has sent. While she's struggling to get free, the other John, Alt John, he comes out and grabs the guy. They wrestle a little bit. He gets stabbed. John gets stabbed a few times, and with his dying breath, tells Juliana, go. So she starts the car. She gets out of there, and then it's kind of funny because this agent, this special ops agent, he looks like he's freaked out because he just killed the alternate John. So he's not sure how the other John's gonna react to this. And that's how the episode ends. Now, this episode had a lot of back and forth, so it could get confusing from time to time because the environments weren't really that different. Like, especially even in the opening, it's raining in the regular world, and then we go to the alternate world, and it's still like cloudy and raining. So it's kind of hard sometimes to figure out where we are, and it jumped back and forth a lot. But still, it kind of accelerated a bit, and we got a lot of character building from everyone. So I think this was a really good episode because of that, because we started to build the characters and get some character development going. We got more insight into John's character, and we got a little more insight into how Toru's feeling and how Kido doesn't understand it at all. That we got a continuation of that. So this was a good episode. Anyway, I hope you liked this deep dive. If you think I missed anything, or if you have anything to add, go ahead and comment below. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get notified of future episodes. And we'll see you in the next one.